Hello. Hi. How are you? My name is Uri. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy that you are all here as well. Um, I hope you have some AI dilemmas in mind because we're going to tackle a few. Probably, I assume with the panel we have, I believe we will resolve most of the issues. There might be some left for dinner, but let's see. So, trying to think if I have any special affinity to AI because I still do run a festival, an association, a nonprofit that produces cultural events and projects. It's called Utopia. I'm based in Tel Aviv. I used to be in tech, so I have a very, and I'm a big science fiction fan, so I have had a long history and kind of a long arc of perspective and also opinions about AI. And I'm very opinionated, but luckily there are other more opinionated people than me that hopefully will I'll hopefully be able to stop myself from stopping them talking. We have a whole program of AI programming through the Congress. It started with the opening panel and skill shop, where that was referenced as, or the topic was all AI all the time, and this is stop all AI. By all AI all the time, we did not mean that. We don't mean stop all AI, but we did want to not portray the positive or negative, but delve into the complexities and the nuances. It's hard. I'm a pessimist. It oozes out of me. Luckily, we had a lovely chat with three creatives who were able to turn off for most of the time my skepticism. But this is going to be fun. Because I'm a little bit of a skeptic, and we do want to talk about, I don't want to say problems, challenges. That's how we refer to them now, challenges. There's a lot to discuss. I'm not going to take too much time. I'd like to thank Philip and he's got a, what's the name? The guy next to you, Eustace, and Maren and Johanna and Gregor and everybody from the festival, and I'll invite on stage to rant about AI a little bit, and maybe not just rant. Geraldine, Boaz, Bijan, and Louis. Not according to it. You're welcome. As you come in, just, yeah, let's, some clapping is well deserved. Please. Louis Savvy. So we have different people from different fields and different disciplines. Louis runs the Sci-Fi London Film Festival, upcoming, which edition? 25th? 25th. So, and that's this coming June. Let's, microphone. Pass on the mics. But you have also, well, you've immersed yourself in science fiction and science, which are very well linked in the festival itself. You're also, is that on the board of, is that
I'm on the board of the Zilbersalz Film
Oh.
Science and Media Festival, which is in Halle, near Leipzig. I'm sure you all know Halle. I have to say that because I'm not normally talking to an English audience. And that's been going for 7 years now. I think I've been involved for about 9 from its inception, and the original ideas. And that marries science and science communication together very strongly. We do a whole pitch sessions where we have people like NDR.
So, well, let's talk about
lots of stuff.
AI.
And AI, yeah.
But your original career was in marketing and music?
Promoting clubs and pubs and
There you
taking
go.
bands on tour. And I bought a computer to do our accounts, and I fell in love with the computer. Just from doing a little batch file so that I could run, my word processor and my Lotus 123 and a couple of other things. And then I knew, oh wow, you can make it go red. And if you,
Louis, we're in the part
great.
of presenting people.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So you have to shut people up. You're quite
Boaz
right.
has written in every format that I know imaginable. Game design, gamer himself, but also screenwriter, playwright, a graphic novel, journalism. You didn't.
Should I help you with
poetry? You didn't. When I said poetry, you were not dismissive, but how would you? Okay,
I'm not writing poetry, okay?
Yeah, I know,
That's
I know.
not part of it.
No, but
That shouldn't be part of my
That's
introduction.
not for you to decide. And obviously, code
Yes, writing code is a hobby.
is your hobby.
Yeah.
And let's regurgitate the same joke. You chose the wrong hobby.
Yeah.
And you've been teaching in the Bezalel Academy of Arts and
Art and design.
in Jerusalem, generative AI storytelling.
Something like that. It's in the industrial design program for a master degree. So
Don't correct me now.
Yeah.
Come on. Let's
Yeah.
move.
yeah.
There'll be enough chances.
Not that far from what I'm doing there. Yeah.
Geraldine de Bastion. Don't worry. Founder of GIG, Global Innovation Gathering, which connects hacking, hacker maker spaces all over the world, brings them into collaborations through Germany and via themselves. Also was part of the original team that built up the Republica Conference and Festival to what it is today, and that's how we kind of got together through ideas of utopias in science fiction and digital technologies, and also CEO of the consultancy Connective. All right. Now, Bijan, you're going to help me with your last name.
Kaffenberger.
That was very easy. Kaffenberger. Okay. But I'm a little bit embarrassed because this is like the important person and I don't know exactly how to approach it. But you're a member of the Hessian Parliament from SPD. And your focus areas are science, digital culture, and media and arts. Did it good? Would you want to expand? No? No. Okay. So there's so much to talk about. There's so little time. I'm taking one piece of literature, one piece of one text as an impetus for this conversation. Now, 2 months ago, India and France hosted an international summit in Paris called the AI Action Summit. Raise of hands, have you heard about it? Okay. So that was an international summit meant to get as many stakeholders as possible for an AI action summit, as in what are we going to do and how are we going to do it. 2 years ago, when the world was very different, it was remarkable to hear, even though it's well known that these tools have kind of appeared in our life 2 or 3 years ago. All the creatives that are participating in the Future Frames competition have all started working with AI tools just 2 years ago. One of the participants is a graphic designer, so she started off from some basic, not basic, but from with OG tools, which but 2 other competitors are brand new to this creative game and have made wonderful things and inspirational and very creative. So that's phenomenal. 2 years ago, Elon just bought Twitter, but not just. It was 6 months in. It was 6 months in, and I think GPT-3 was already out, and there was a lot of hesitation on where are we going and what's going to happen. And there was some conversation. There were AI ethicists and AI safety experts. What to do with jobs and copyright versus what to do with the Terminator and Skynet and when AI takes over. And between all of that, a now infamous letter came out. It was kind of a more or less a press release that got a real traction from an institute called the Future of Life Institute. And it made the rounds, it made some noise, and then it dissipated into non-existence. But it had some very, very interesting and important, one would say, signatories. Steve Wozniak, Yuval Noah Harari, Elon Musk are all signatories to this letter that calls for an immediate stop to all AI experimentation. Now, what I'd like to do, because funnily enough, it's a short letter. It's very dense, there's a lot of text, but it's short, it's 400 words. So what we'll do is, we'll each read a paragraph, okay? And to make it easier, if it's possible, oh, fantastic. So this is the Pause Giant AI Experiments open letter. As you can see, nowadays it has 27,565 signatures. It used to have more than 30, it used to have close to 35,000, I think, at its height. The PDF, if it's a, I'm fine with the PDF. Do we have the letter? So Geraldine, why don't you lead us off on the first? And they may have seen the letter. Don't judge them on the just let's start. Yes.
Pause Giant AI Experiments, an open letter. We call on all AI labs to immediately pause for at least 6 months the training of AI systems more powerful than GPT-4. Dramatic pause for scrolling. AI systems with human competitive intelligence can pose profound risks to society and humanity, as shown by extensive research and acknowledged by top AI labs. As stated in the widely endorsed Asimila AI principles, advanced AI could represent a profound change in the history of life on Earth and should be planned for and managed with commensurate care and resources. Unfortunately, this level of planning and management is not happening, even though recent months have seen AI labs locked in and out of control locked in and out of control race to develop and deploy ever more powerful digital minds that no one, not even their creators, can understand, predict, or reliably control.
Who wants the next one? Paul? Yeah? Bijan?
Contemporary AI systems are now becoming human competitive at general tasks, and we must ask ourselves, should we let machines flood our information channels with propaganda and untruth? Should we automate away all the jobs, including the fulfilling ones? Should we develop non-human minds that might eventually outnumber, outsmart, obsolete, and replace us? Should we risk loss of control of our civilization? Such decisions must not be delegated to unelected tech leaders. Powerful AI systems should be developed only once we are confident with their effects will be positives and their risks will be manageable. This confidence must be well justified and increased with the magnitude of AI systems' potential effects. OpenAI's recent statement regarding artificial general intelligence states that at some point it may be important to get independent review before starting to train future systems, and for more advanced efforts to agree to limit the rate of growth computing used for creating new models. We agree. This point is now.
2 years ago. Louis, could you take it? Because we need now something very forceful.
Therefore, we call upon all AI labs to immediately pause for at least 6 months the training of AI systems more powerful than GPT-4. This pause should be public and verifiable, and include all key actors. If such a pause cannot be enacted quickly, governments should step in and institute a moratorium.
Take the next one.
AI labs and independent experts should use this pause to jointly develop and implement a set of shared safety protocols for advanced AI design and development that are rigorously audited and overseen by independent outside experts. These protocols should ensure that systems adhering to them are safe beyond a reasonable doubt. This does not mean a pause on AI development in general, merely a stepping back from the dangerous race to ever larger, unpredictable black box models with emergent capabilities.
I'll take this one, and then Boz.
I'm getting ready.
AI research and development should be refocused on making today's powerful, state-of-the-art systems more accurate, safe, interpretable, transparent, robust, aligned, trustworthy, and loyal. I'll just add in a quick, loyal? Who are we loyal to? Yes, Boz.
In parallel, AI developers must work with policymakers to dramatically accelerate development of robust AI governance systems. These should, at a minimum, include new and capable regulatory authorities dedicated to AI, oversight and tracking of highly capable AI systems, and large pools of computational capability. Provenance and watermarking systems to help distinguish real from synthetic and to track model leaks, a robust auditing and certification ecosystems, liability for AI-caused harm, robust public funding for technical AI safety research, and well-resourced institutions for coping with the dramatic economic and political disruptions, especially to democracy, that AI will cause.
Geraldine, you want to close this off?
Humanity can enjoy a flourishing future with AI. Having succeeded in creating powerful AI systems, we can now enjoy an AI summer, which is like the opposite of brat summer, in which we reap the rewards, engineer these systems for the clear benefit of all, and give society a chance to adapt. Society has hit pause on other technologies with potentially catastrophic effects on society. we can do so here. Let's enjoy a long AI summer, not rush unprepared into a fall. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for the reading. Thank you for this aspirational science fiction text. I told you. I told you to be prepared. My question is, what the fuck happened? And let's let's go with the flow. So, Louis, you want to start, or whoever wants to start? Whoever has the.
Yeah, I'm really prepared because you asked us to
I
write
did
like
ask for like a
a
prepared.
few passages, so I wrote something that is much longer than the original. Yeah. Open.
Did you use any?
No, I didn't use any AI. Only to translate.
How can you? How can
I can
we
do.
need
I
to
can
believe
still
you?
write. Yes, you can't believe you. It's just you have to trust me on this. So I can read it or read parts of it or whatever. That's
As long
my.
as it's 2 minutes or less.
I think. Yeah, you'll stop me at some point, I guess. So it's about why I'm not a signatory on that.
Oh,
level.
it wasn't as an open letter, meaning everybody
Yeah,
can sign on.
You
And
could all sign it also. Yes.
if you present for the letter for a second again, if you can, just go to the second. If it's a PDF, then I don't know if it's on it, but on the no, where down there, like you can see all the signatories, and there are some okay,
lots.
there you go. Andrew
Everyone
Yang,
who has
Yuval Noah
anything-
Harrari, Steve Wozniak, Elon Musk. I don't know, some prominent people, and as prominent, and it can go as prominent
Not
as
only
Boaz and
prominent,
Uri.
just no. I'm a lot more prominent than you, Uri, I think. But you know, researchers, engineers, anyone that has any connection to the field, just
Yes.
Are they all women? Are they all men?
It's a good question, but how would you? It's an irrelevant one at 2025. Let's move on. We're post-feminist now. Feminism is over. I think
Both.
this is a joke.
Yeah.
This is a Trump joke. I apologize. Buzz. Yes.
I have this statement and an explanation for why I'm not a signatory. As of this moment, the open letter from 2023 calling for pausing all AI experiments has been signed by 33,705 names. You won't find my name among them, even though I genuinely debated it with myself during the first few days at least following the publication, whether to add it or not. Let's be real, I'm aware of the fact that my voice, like pretty much most of the 33,000 people who signed it, probably wouldn't have tipped the scales, but for a moment it felt like signing it is the right thing to do for anyone connected in any way to the field. It was like clicking like on a post on which you feel you must like. Even people who usually can't agree about anything between them signed it together. Hell, Elon Musk signed it while launching an AI product at the same time, which is amazing. Yeah, which is amazing, I think. So why wasn't I there specifically? First of all, I'm not alone in distancing myself from the trend. Surprisingly, one of the most dominant voices in favor of complete halt of all AI development, Eliezer Yudkowsky, maybe you've heard of him, he's a very famous doomer, American one. Yeah. He did not sign it either. Alongside with him are other strong voices who constantly talk about the risks of artificial intelligence. But you don't have to be on Yudkowsky doom and gloom side to feel that this letter says many correct things on paper, but in certain sense it exists in a totally fictional world, an echo chamber. Of course, as I mentioned, many of the people who signed it just kept on working and even launched new products at the same time. It's a kind of a caricature of the prisoner's dilemma. Everyone who signed it demands that everyone else stop developing AI so that they themselves can stop too. You know, without being afraid that other people will work on better solutions or something. I will keep working my own lab. I'll be able to calmly stop too without being worried about competition. So the threat is clear. If my demands are not unanimously accepted by everyone in the field, I will myself continue at full speed, despite the enormous risk I just laid out for you a minute ago in the letter itself. So this perhaps reveals the irrelevancy of the approach expressed in the letter, at least at the time. Unlike nuclear weapons, for example, or other complex technological developments, artificial intelligence already exists in a completely decentralized world, a world there where, alongside giants like OpenAI or Google, there are open source models, small independent initiatives, code written in rented rooms on the outskirts of cities in India, France, the United States, and Israel, and of course China. This isn't romanticism, it's reality. The call to halt AI and immediately subject it to regulation under what jurisdiction, exactly, even if for good purposes, is a call to put human drive on hold and essentially to strengthen those already in power. The letter has value, and just like a work of science fiction, as Uri mentioned, because it shines a spotlight on an essential topic, the risks of emerging artificial intelligence. These are real risks. But like many works of science fiction, this letter takes the world it imagines as far as it can go, veering into complete fantasy. And that's where it remains. I'll be saving my signature, precious as it may be, for other letters, maybe ones that the machines themselves will write someday. Thank you.
I understand. Thank you, Boaz. I understand, Geraldine, you've had like a moment within the organization of whether you should sign it or not.
Yes, I don't have a written prepared statement. Maybe
no
we
need
can.
for written
Okay,
prepared statements.
just some thoughts to add.
Boaz
Yes.
is just the writer.
I mean, I would like to underscore everything that you just shared. I think there's not much more to add in terms of explaining why none of us signed this letter who's sitting on this panel. But yes, I was approached by many different organizations with the question, should we be signing this? Especially those sort of more, let's say, public sector organizations not necessarily working directly in the field, but associated in some way or feeling they need to catch on the game, feeling very sort of insecure with the same sentiment, like understanding there are a lot of good points in this letter, but then looking at the list of the first signatories thinking that you don't want to be part of that club, right? And the only point that I wanted to add to this is what one other core reason for not signing it is getting over this idea of tech billionaires or tech company owners' self-regulation and standing above the law, which is just like, this is a precursor to the reality that we're sadly living in today. But the idea that you can halt the development of a technology globally because the industry agrees to do that, rather than seeing it through a public sector lens of understanding that you need regulation around these technologies and regulation to sort of steer what development should be happening and what not. And the same people sign, or some of this, this is not true probably for a lot of signatories, but let's say some of the initiators of this, people like Elon Musk, criticize the European Union and their very risk-based attempt of regulating AI in the same breath as wanting to stop regulation, wanting to stop development, but in their own, on their own terms. And that's, I think, the core issue that I have with this, in addition to the ones that you listed. Thanks.
We have a policymaker with us.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to make one joke before I start, because this is one of the biggest moments in my life as a politician. I'm invited to Élysée. I probably misunderstood, but so no, I just came back from my holiday in France 2 days ago. So, but back to AI. Why I didn't sign? I'm very much with you both, because some minutes ago, I read the part of the letter where the letter says that regulation and all the decisions about AI should be made by elected people. So, and it's so contradictory that non-elected people who are who are billionaires, who have way too much power these days, even more than they had 2 years ago when the letter was published during the change in the US presidency, they recommend to delegate decisions to elected people and at the same time fight the regulatory approaches made by the European Union, made by a almost democratic parliament. And this is really a thing where I said this is nothing I want to put my sign on. I think the last 2 years have shown that we are on the right way with regulating AI and to find positive approaches with not stopping it at all, but finding a way to do good and proper regulation. And from my point of view, 2 years later, when you see how many of those companies developed, how Elon is behaving these days, I think this is it's just marketing. It has just been marketing. It has been the trial to enhance the situation within the market. So it's not an ethical, it's not a political statement. I would say it's a it has been they've been trying to just improve their situation within the challenge about better models. And after we've seen what happened with many of the stock market Aktien, was is stocks, with many of the stocks after the DeepSeek model was released, that may also be not the proof, but a hint that I may be right.
Do you want to comment? Do you want to add?
I'd certainly want to agree with your mention of DeepSeek. I think that letter is not something I would sign for two reasons. One is that I want AI to be used more in medical research, and I have kidney failure, so I'm on dialysis, and so I want to have machine learning working really hard on finding a drug so I don't need to dialyze 3 days a week, or finding something that would have prevented me having these problems, or 3D print me a new kidney. This stuff will come very soon from artificial intelligence working with synthetic biology and medical.
Suppose, I mean, not will, but
it will.
Might.
It will. It will. It will. The other reason is because I think that letter came too late anyway. It's kind of, well, in England we say pissing into the wind. Because it's too late. That DeepSeek is very much that as a poster boy for that. The escape of it. You can download nano LLMs that talk like Shakespeare. You can write your own 300 lines of code, incidentally, which you can run on pretty much any cheap laptop. This stuff is already out there. It's escaped. In one sense, I've been working in science fiction forever, and I don't think we're going to get to Skynet very soon. But it certainly is a potential, but it's no more of a potential than we have with regular, we already have fingers on buttons everywhere. So I think the call certainly in there to have a much more optimistic view and trying to control some of these things is certainly something to look at. But I think as you said, that felt like a letter from the money, from a lot of men. We've got another technology that is particularly dominated by men. There's this panel is a representation of the world of artificial intelligence CEOs, all the people in high tech. There's about 20% female. And speaking as a man, we've done a really shit job with a lot of things over the centuries by letting us argue about money and arguing about who controls it and who's going to have it. And I would like to see that balance addressed more than anything else, because I think the world would be a better place if it wasn't just a lot of blokes arguing about stuff when they could have just been getting on with it.
Boaz, Bijan, would you like to comment? That was a joke, Geraldine.
I would like to do some womansplaining at this point, please, because I'm not sure who our distinguished audience members are AI experts or connoisseurs. So I thought perhaps just to differentiate very quickly that, of course, this letter was aiming at, the development of what we'd call general artificial intelligence, as opposed to the different AIs that we've had since the 60s and through the ages. So the kind of applications that you just mentioned in scientific environments where it's experts interacting with the technology, with expert data sets that have been fed to this technology, creating medical solutions of different kinds was probably not part of the scope that this letter was intended for, but rather this idea that we will move on from the generative AI that we have now. So before we had AI that could do one specific thing, the chess AI that beat Garry Kasparov. Exactly. Now we have moved on to generative AI, so AIs that can do more things. We can prompt them to do different things. And this debate that we've been having the last couple of years now is, when will we have general AI? So something that is human-like in the sense that we as humans have the potential to learn anything, to become anything we want to become when we grow up. And that's the idea behind...
As Elon said in his earnings call. Yes.
Well, maybe like... And
I like it that we're all on a first-name basis. With Elon.
With Elon. Aren't we all these days? And this is what people have been debating. Like, is this going to be unlocking humanity, bringing us all to the next sphere of intelligence and existence, or is this going to be our detriment, our destruction? And some might say yes, and others might say we won't even notice when we have general AI. It's just going to appear and be there. So, yeah. Are we there?
I think that there will definitely be a shift in the same way as, the Gutenberg press, changed things drastically. And I'm sure I don't know, there must be some kind of letter saying that people shouldn't be allowed to print their own materials. Back in the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th century, as things were developed, because it was a danger. They saw the horror of allowing people to have ideas. And I think that you're right. Specific AIs, specific machine.
There were new
learning.
Religions formed because of that. Well, yeah.
I think one thing that Bijan said about this letter being a marketing
ploy
is it's very. I think it's true, and it's not the first time that actually being very pessimistic, supposedly about AI, in a way attracts people into the field. It makes it even stronger because in other words, you can interpret this letter as just saying AI is going to rule the world. Okay, is it true or not? I don't know, but that's the subtext of this letter. Of course, if it's going to rule the world, we are going to be the rulers because all of us signatories on this letter are.
Thus, we need to be. It's unstoppable, undeniable, and so forth. So, if it's not going to be stopped, we need to control it. Otherwise, it's going to be China.
I think that's what, for instance, attracted people like, they talk about it, Sam Altman, to this field, because it is so dangerous. Now we have to be able to stop these machines from becoming the most dangerous thing ever, reading books by certain people, reading blogs by Eliezer Yudkowsky and other writers, and building a company that is called OpenAI, and is meant to build beneficial AI for the people, open technology, so the danger of AI will be mitigated. But of course, everything was closed at some point.
If you don't know, I'll transfer the mic to you. I just want to press that issue for a second. To if you don't know, then OpenAI is a non-profit, or used to be. It has a very mercurial, that's a word that's used, organization, but it's partly a non-profit, and it was opened up in 2015, funded by Elon Musk, among other people, to battle the upcoming AI front that was supposed to be Google. And OpenAI was an answer, a non-profit answer. So, and the technology was supposed to be open source, and the reference to open in its name, it's not open source, and it's not open, and it might be a non-profit, but it now is $100 billion non-profit that is partly
not non-profit.
Yeah, it has a non-profit
changed,
segment that, yes, I said it's an odd and it has a
The
relationship.
important
with
part of
Microsoft.
OpenAI is not non-profit. So,
And so I do want us to move on to a little bit talking about aesthetics and bring us back down to the film festival we're in. But I wanted to hear some more policy. If you can.
Yeah, there was
if you
was
can-
one thing I wanted to add, and I think it already was mentioned, the Doomer thing, and if you put it in a big in the big picture, you have people in these days we see they are very much profiting also from right-wing parties, especially in the US, from populistic things, from anti-democratic movements, and the best thing they can put in the world to improve their power is fear. And this is another political sphere of the latter, I think, to have a little of fear going around in the world that there is a new technology who will probably change everything, even improves their position as a strong leader, even if it's in tech or in politics. And I think this is another part of it that should be mentioned.
Good news is not news, right? I mean, it's, we never report that, someone did really well. The police didn't have to arrest anyone today, that kind of stuff. We're always talking about the horrors to keep us all afraid. And I think AI very much is just the next enemy at the door as well.
So I have maybe a bit of a philosophical question about creativity and AI within this context. And we have so Louis, you're a curator, let's say, and Boz, you're a creative, and we're all creatives. Everybody can answer on this question, but for a very long time we've been living in a world of post-death of the author. So the interpretation of art, creativity, media, a piece of film is not based. I mean, anyone can interpret anything as they want, and I think, or I'd like to ask you if we're witnessing the death of the author, because we're going back to what is art and what is the creative process, and does it have to start with a human with a prompt? Boaz, let's see you answer.
wow. Okay. Let me think about your question in the context of this letter.
No,
Just-
forget
yeah.
the letter.
To forget the
no,
letter.
I mean, the letter was an impetus for us
okay,
to
okay.
start the conversation about the entire topic.
I think the interesting thing is that I can actually tie them up together, so
Fantastic.
that would be good for us all. I think when you think about, the ruin of being very doomeristic or whatever about
Being very
very in the doomers side,
doomeristic. Doomer.
very doomeristic about.
Doomerism is AI is going to kill us all.
Yes, but there are
Sorry.
there are other kinds of doomerisms.
It's
And
a,
one
it's
of
a
them-
spectrum.
Yes, no, not just the spectrum. There are, like doomerism in different niches, different areas, different fields.
AI is going to
So,
completely
to
obliterate the
replace
taxi,
all artists,
the taxi,
all writers,
or-
yes,
okay,
all
okay.
visual creators.
Okay.
And that's kind of a thing, like something that people talk about constantly in certain areas, at least I know, in parts of the world.
Journalism.
On Twitter, on X, or whatever you want to call it, people discussing AI, and there are movements like anti-AI in the field of illustration, for instance. People feel that using AI in order to create illustrations is really something horrible, and people should be banned from the community if they use it, even if they touch it.
Just
So-
to give you some more, today I think, yes, a programmer from Motel Shish, which is a horror festival in Lisbon, it will be coming over. They've initiated their first they have a lot of competitions, and one of them, and they've initiated an AI not competition, even a showcase. they
There
got
are about 6 film festivals that are just for AI
and
created content.
but the specific
And,
story
and
at
the
Lisbon,
Academy have just now confirmed that they will allow films created by AI or including AI generated content they're valid for the Oscars.
well, I want to get to that. I wanted to say that they got a huge reaction from their audience, the Lisbon Festival, even for suggesting to put that showcase on because you're doing ill use of. But do go on.
Yeah, so one
yes.
point about this. I think there's AI is a buzzword for for many reasons, and sometimes I think sometimes that if it was called in another name, just technology or using big statistical algorithms to do stuff.
AI is normal technology.
Yes, there's this piece about AI being normal technology. I think there's a bit of a confusion, and it helps people in power usually because you think that AI is just this magical thing that really, crashes and makes people unemployed. But usually what I see is in some, at least where I go around and with creative people, most of the creative, communities that I am in touch with try to learn how to use these tools in order to make the best art or to create results that incorporate the ideas and the technology, because usually creative people are attracted to new ways of creating and doing stuff. So if you just don't call it AI and just use the name of the specific technology and products, it seems a little bit different and a lot less powerful and frightening and horrible or optimistic. It's just another tool, this tool, that tool. Of course, there are questions, ethical questions about how they are used, using AI, protected material and so forth. And this is about the training issues, which is a bit different. But I think technology is part of, what I'm trying to say is that technology was always part of the creative process. It will always be part of creative process. Cinema is technology, basically. TV is technology. All of the things we do and create and write on the internet is incorporated technology. Writing, in a way, writing is a more complicated, but it becomes more of being a technology
many
thing.
centuries ago, people didn't read
Yeah.
because there wasn't material.
True,
so no one
right.
read. Then we had the press, then we had movable type, and then suddenly people could publish. So then there was an impetus for the whole of society to start to be able to read. I mean, it's a technological advance that allowed that to happen, which makes you as an author, a creative, you're just down the tail of that
The
process.
photography and painting.
Yeah,
is
so
another,
just
but
to
I'd
finish
like
up,
to,
my point, there was this controversy about this the Brutalist film in the Oscars using
Brutalist,
AI.
yes.
With the accents, improving accents using AI.
No, okay.
Improving the Hungarian accent, I think. And it was everything about this controversy was about the buzzword AI, because they were just using a specific tool that they using 1,000 tools in the
What's
studio.
the name of the actor?
Instead of a dialogue coach.
Yes.
Right?
It's a famous actor.
With
Adrian
Brody.
Brody.
Yeah. So it was the big deal was about this word, AI, and AI has something in it, which is a brilliant invention by John McCarthy in the 50s. But there's a thing with this word that makes us really,
Artificial
irritated.
intelligence.
Yes. And I think if we change the perspective and just don't change it for a different word, I think many things will be many things in our perspective will be changed, and maybe for the good, not just
Do you think the brutalist people tried to do a PR stunt that went bad?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Just someone talked about it in a podcast, and then it just
Bijan or Geraldine? Bijan?
Yeah, I just wanted to do short promotion on what's already going on in education, because we are talking about all these tools, and in fact, when we go to like media studies or motion picture studies here, especially also in Darmstadt or in Wiesbaden at our universities. Young students already learning to handle all these tools every day, and I think this is in many cases the technological progress you already mentioned, because in fact most of the big picture shown by AI reduces to really small focused tool that is used for whatever dubbing, for special effects, or also for writing, especially for the structure. There are many like small products that are used, and nobody would ever these days or nowadays talk about using Photoshop when you do a cover for a magazine. It's part of a creative process, and you also will never stop all AI, the little tools being used in the companies, and but I think it's very important to talk about how also our education system has to challenge all this, not only for the young people, because what I see very often is that the young people coming from university or being creative in a firm, adopting these technologies very fast. They mostly have possibilities to learn how to handle it, but doing on the job things is way more. It's harder, because in not in any firm you have all you get from time to time it's the boss, from time to time it's the employee itself, you never know, but really getting also mid-age or older people to educate them with those tools is really especially I think a big task.
Okay, allow me a couple of like semi-philosophical thoughts on creativity and technology, and maybe just linking on to this. I mean, I've been at different political debates in Germany where the conversation was around artistry and AI, and of course there are all these truths where people are using different kind of software and different kind of tools, and the AI is embedded and you might not even know what you're using. And then if you're asking artists to certify or testify that they're not using AI when they're just carrying on using their digital tools, which are developing and expanding, it kind of becomes absurd in a way. Yeah, so there's that aspect. So I was quite inspired by the conversation that you guys had earlier, so these are just some notes I made. So yeah, allow me or interrupt me if this gets too indulgent here. I have middle-aged people hobbies now, and that includes going to pottery class, and I had to think of my pottery class when you guys were speaking earlier, because no, I wasn't feeling so 2 days ago I was at this pottery class, and we were discussing like the creativity of being in the process, like something goes wrong, you adapt to it, like the vision adapting to the process. And the lady said that she stopped painting because she couldn't translate her results from the vision she had to the product that she wanted to create quickly enough. And I was thinking about that when you were speaking earlier, like this question, what happens when everything becomes so accessible and easy, when there's no more training necessary from the vision to the output, or when it's a completely different process of skill building, human actual skill building from getting to the vision to the output? And is that great because it will help us leap forward, it will create like unknown precedents of innovation, or is that going to make us like lose powers of endurance, of expertise? And then I had to think, this is where it gets very anecdotal, that I saw a documentary a while about how we're only eating soft foods now. Like humanity is eating more and more soft foods. Even in Germany, the hard-crusted bread, we're eating more and more soft foods, and how that is perhaps changing our dental structures. So, so there's this idea that tech creators of these tools put forward about the idea of democratizing creativity, and with a kind of question of, what for? And what for in a society, especially where most young people aspire to simply be famous, And the kind of question of what is their contribution to society then? And at the same time, you brought so many great examples of human and machine interaction and creativity. But I do think it's a slippery slope. And I do, like, coming from a family of musicians, I really wonder if one prompt to a song is that how does that change from being a musician? Maybe in a world where Katy Perry's an astronaut, that does make you a musician. But how do we maintain some of the things that we want to maintain as humans, whilst allowing all of this to happen at the same time, allowing us all to explore this at the same time, without it leading to things taking away from the possibilities we have in our future? One last anecdote, and please don't take this as a criticism, because this is like, obviously things are very subjective. But when you played your art with music clip earlier, and sorry, these are just associations, so please, this has nothing to do with your art. But last anecdote from...
Geraldine, you are referring to Natalie Shafir, one of our contestants from the previous...
But also not, because I really want to make sure this is not to do with
This
the
is
art that you were showing.
your free association.
I have a dark hobby with my sister.
For the people at home.
Which is not my middle-aged people hobbies, but there's a Netflix series called Love is Blind. Maybe some of you know it. So a couple of 2-3 seasons ago, and especially like the current season, if you want to watch it, people are saving money. So of course they're using AI music now. And that is resulting to different movie scenes being shown with music being played with the exact literal explanation of what we're seeing in the scene. Oh, we had an... I'm not going to sing because I want you to stay here, but we had an argument and now you're walking away from me and I hope this is still going to be true. Oh my God, is it terrible? So terrible, unbearable cringe, yeah? And then I was thinking back to another movie event, Reeperbahn Festival, I was at a couple of years ago, where the producer, director guys, sorry for all film people, of 6 Feet Under, I think, was a popular TV show, 6 Feet, was explaining how they chose the song, Sears, I Hurt Myself Today, for the last closing scene. And there was a whole session just about that closing scene. And I was like, how awful would that have been if that would have been, oh, I'm driving away now, I'm not sure if I'll ever see you. So what potentials are we risking to lose here?
I was going to say, exactly on that note, if you want to see a really bad example of someone putting shit lyrics to a song, if you know the Star Wars holiday special, you'll find it somewhere on the internet. There's a scene in there where the theme tune to the original Star Wars film is sung by Carrie Fisher. They've put lyrics to it, and it's Star Wars. It's awful, and that's definitely what AI will deliver to you in bucket loads.
Just a tiny point about what you just said. I know in Netflix, in the supervisors at Netflix, at least they try, when they give notes to screenplays, they try to make characters sometimes just say, reiterate what just happened in the scenes. So people can feel okay just not really watching it, but still being, I'm okay, I know what's going on, because people just say we just did that and that. So it's really important for Netflix to be able to keep people knowledgeable about what happens on the show without really watching it. Just, it's a new kind of watching
slop.
TV.
It's a new kind of slop.
So what you said is just a part of it, yeah.
I'm just crashing inside the dialogue, because this was what we were talking about before the panel was starting, standing there at the front. I was like, yeah, we can't stop AI. We can't stop being used for production. I think we will come in some point to a 2-class system with regard to things we see. But why shouldn't we, from the Netflix point of view, if they already know they have like a second screen, watches at home, is fubbing around on the smartphone doing messaging while watching a series, why shouldn't you? So I probably would consider this product as crap, but in fact I'm also an economist, not only a politician. If this is this is kind of the demand people want, it's probably not art anymore. It's probably not even very cultural, but it's culture. But we already have it, and it's a cultural change. And it's
okay. I'd like. What's that? I want to bring this back home, and I'll use a lot of things that were said here to present a few topics of discussion. One is union membership. One is what's the difference between Fiverr and AI, and another thing about democratizing creativity. And to be specific about not just creativity, but film and media, film is a collaborative effort. Film, movies, TV is something dozens, if not hundreds of people work on. And it's a matter of fact now that it can be done by less people and less people, to the point of it can be done by one person. Now, not one single person can generate a 3-hour film, but if we're going there, it's an interesting, because we asked the participants, I asked the participants in the previous panel, what is their profession? And there were a few answers, but I would also ask them, well, you don't have to answer that now. Which union will you be joining, and how that union will protect you? And that's one question I would ask you guys. Not that you would need to know, but that's one thing to think about. And then everybody knows Fiverr, right? To get work done for a Fiverr. So economically, and I'd like your input on this, especially, of course, what's the difference? If we're Fiverring our entire economy through AI. So yeah, that's me the being a doomer. But please, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, if you have any.
I have something to say just about collaboration and
collaborative artwork
versus just working. I'm only doing the film myself, doing the cinematography, editing.
And you've done both.
I've done everything, yeah. And I think part of the problem is the core issue that these machines are pleasing machines, and they're trying to please you and get you what you want, and so you are happy with it. And sometimes it doesn't really work instantly.
Just but by the way, that's those are algorithms that are you're talking beyond Gen AI, because Netflix supposedly, when it launched, had a pleasing algorithm.
Yeah, of course.
Show me more
when I'm
of
saying
this.
pleasing, I mean that's
YouTube
another way
and
to
TikTok
say
as well.
That's another way to say these are prediction machines, and they try to predict you and make you happy, please you. Okay, it doesn't always work, instantly, but that's the idea. That's the engine behind. Now, creating art
and
is
to those who don't know. That's how you radicalize online.
Okay, that's another issue. I'm talking about the way you create art using a collaborator that tries to please you all the time, as opposed to creating art, in the old classical, authentic, 20th century way, when there's always conflict. That's part of the process. Being in some kind of a conflict with you and the cinematographer and the editor, and it doesn't agree with you, she doesn't agree with you, and you fight, and it works, and then it doesn't work. And that's a completely different way of doing stuff and doing art, I think, when you're working with someone that only tries to please you and has nothing to lose, basically, and as opposed to working with collaborators that are, in a way, have their own minds because they're human. So that's something just to pay attention to when you go into the future.
Maybe just quickly on the Fiverr versus AI aspect. Personally, I would say those are just different forms of exploitation of tech companies. On the one hand, direct exploitation of human cheap labor through the gig economy, and on the other hand, feeding all of our data unasked for and unpaid for into systems so that we can supposedly have nicer things. But that's my answer.
I think you're right on that. I think what will be interesting is when the change comes that ChatGPT and DeepSeek and all these other things start putting adverts in their answers, weaving that into their answers. So it goes from being I'll pay for your service or a monthly subscription for the AI service, through to it's all there, it's all for you, it's all free. You just need to watch this 30-second commercial,
Or
and then I'll give you the thing you've asked me for.
or the prompt includes paid advertisement.
Yeah, of course.
Not the prompt, the answer.
The answer. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In the answer, the person in the scene will be drinking Coca-Cola.
Yeah. Can I just I want to get, because I know we run out of time, because I did do. It's being very selfish, but you did ask us also to look at things like how this relates to cinema and how this relates to the future of film, being the conference. And I've got a 1 minute and 39 second because I asked ChatGPT to time me, which I'd like to read at some point, just on a more hopeful note.
Let's get Bijan's viewpoint, please.
Okay, I give you the 1.5 minute.
We do.
So no worries.
We're on time. We're fine with time.
I subscribed the open letter written by Geraldine on the Fiverr. So this saves me 1.5 minutes. And now I'm going to the union thing. As a good Labour politician, I'm of course member of a union, but not of a relevant one for media. But nonetheless, I think we should end or come to an end with the panel with some good news, because we already were talking like it's only the fear. Beginning this, when I've been at Berlinale this year, I was talking to many people, because it was. We met after several time, and Björn Böning, an old friend of mine, I know him from the party and his earlier jobs in Berlin in the ministry. He's at Produktionsallianz, and we were talking like how did they end up with Verdi and the contract they came over with using AI in film. And I think this is a good example that together with actors, together with the unions or producers. You can find a solution. It's not the final one and it's not the best one in the world, but it's a first step for several that will come. And in the end, this is, I think, the way we have to face these challenges. We have to find solutions to how money is shared, how the right problem is also faced. And this shows me that we can find a way together to coming along all the challenges with AI. And I think this is really a first good step. And then we will see what comes next. And I think this is also a reason to be member of union, because you see unions still at some point face these challenges even with AI.
Well, you're very hopeful.
Yeah, I probably get a promo code by the unions around after this promotion block. Thank you very much for sponsoring me, Verdi.
It's very valuable that
this post is accompanied by BFFS.
It's very valuable that you're still optimistic.
Transparency.
Louis?
I agree with all of that. It'd be interesting to see whether you... Sorry.
I'm a proud Luddite.
No. But Ned Ludd wanted to change things, and saw a technology that was going to cause a lot of problems, and everybody sort of fell into his union, as it were, and it failed. The technology won. The profit people, the profit makers won.
This is the first industrial revolution, and its factories in England in 1814, 15.
Yeah, and they went and smashed the looms.
That's where Luddite comes from.
Yeah, that's where the word Luddite comes from. So, right, but talking just briefly on what you were all talking about with, nobody would call auto-tuning necessarily a good or a bad thing, or an AI. It wouldn't, but it's definitely prevalent.
Say it's a good or bad, but it's a technology that
mostly bad, but. It was in answer to it was your email that prompted you know, us to
My email prompted, yes, go on.
think about artificial intelligence and cinema, and about how things might change with, you know, creative process and so on with cinema. So I wrote straight off a few bullet points into my notepad. And then, as just a fun experiment, I thought, oh, well, I'll give it to ChatGPT to write it. It was awful. I asked it to redraft it. I tweaked various things, really chatty with it. It wrote a piece. I thought, actually, that sounds a bit like me. I'd say that. And then it said, would you like me to? What's this for? And I said, it's going to be not really a speech, but we've been asked to prepare 200 or 300 words for this conference, and he said, and it said back to me, fine, I can give you a speaker version of this with pauses and so on, so you can try and get some impact from that. So I thought I'd read you that just because it was fun. It also told me in natural speech it should take 1 minute and 39 seconds. So we'll see. So
Wait.
Oh, if you want to time it, that would be really interesting. Well, slow down.
All right.
So there's some highs and lows in my thinking on this. So over the next decade, artificial intelligence is set to reshape cinema in subtle and significant ways. Some roles in production may disappear very quickly, background actors and supporting artists, for instance, as AI-generated crowds become more convincing and more cost-effective. But we will need creative skills still needed to be able, especially to in visual design, in narrative structure and tone. We may soon be able to customize films and TV shows, choosing our own cast, putting ourselves in a particular role, and even even inserting ourselves into these roles. Whilst formula franchises will still likely appear, they may multiply. I believe that well-crafted stories will continue to stand out. But at the same time, our new business models are likely to emerge. AI could enable the return of some cancelled TV shows. AI could help fan fiction evolve into something much more refined and far more far-reaching. Of course, there will be trade-offs. Traditional jobs will decline, but new ones will also take their place. Prompt writing, style shaping, designing the overall aesthetic of a film. Production design could become even more central. Someone still has to imagine the world before it's rendered. The ethical question already with us about AI censorship, will that be debated more? But in truth, cinemas has now been entirely free from influence. What do we show in the cinemas? As for me, I welcome the arrival of FlickSyncs. I'd like to step into my favourite film, not to replace it, but to experience it differently. That's it. How long was that?
2 minutes.
Sorry about that. I didn't pause. I'm really bad at reading from my phone. So, and just in case anyone doesn't know, a FlickSync. Do you know Ready Player One? If you've read the novel, you'll know what a FlickSync is, where you're able to go inside and take on the role of a character and then do it in a virtual environment. I mean, that stuff's going to become really, really easy to do soon enough, I think.
I think we've resolved all the questions necessary, and fantastic. Off to a brave new world. Thank you so much, Bijan, Geraldine, Boaz, and Louis. Thank you. One last word for Future Frames, our competition challenge, 7 p.m. Tonight. Your second constraint is make it Frankfurt. Okay, so think about, or if you've strolled around, heritage, architecture, cultural stuff that have to do with Frankfurt. Nothing more, but just keep it here. Wunderbar. Thank you, and I hope to see many of you, all of you, and more at the challenge at 7 p.m. Thank you. screen to, and I know you can't make it, but I really wanted